Hello and welcome to this video for today. Whether you're here for the first time or you're returning, hope you will enjoy.
Hey guys, how's it going? I brought you guys this budget deck stuff a little while back, a couple weeks ago I think it was, or the first iteration of it at least. So this is an update, I guess, to the most part. So this is now the finished product of at least one of these decks. I think I've got another one actually. I've got two. So this is the first one of two I might show you very quickly today. This is not a full-on like deck tech or whatever, but I'm just sort of going through this deck and showing you what it's all about. Now, when I sell these decks, they're new player focused budget decks for the most part, and yeah, again, they will come with everything. They'll come with the tokens. I have to find all the tokens for this. I have to make a list. I have to make a list for the other decks that I'm building. But again, they will come with all the tokens. They're all built around cheap commanders that I have just like picked up and found and gone, okay, I'll build a deck around that. Whatever, that'll do. I have play tested this deck and the other deck a little bit, not a lot, but again, they're there. They exist to the level that I think they're good enough to do what I want them to do. I'll even show you guys in a minute or two a thing online that actually shows you like the full deck outlay, but I'm not going through like a full deck tech again. I'm just sort of more showing it overall, not going too in depth. So Desolation Twin, again, our commander ability basically casts it if it's on the top or in the top four. So we get its ability when we cast it, or when we play it, we cast it. A few cards that are pretty cool, just card draw, cheap card draw stuff. Helion, we're going to ping our opponents for 2. There's not that many like big splashy things. There's a few. This is a big splashy deck, but there's nothing that's like big and splashy in terms of money. Like Kogla fights a thing when it enters. When it attacks, we destroy an artifact or enchantment. We can get it indestructible, but we don't have many humans, so that's just fine. It's another beater. Bookworm, big beater. Draws a card and gains its life. Pretty good. Big Spider. Big Spider can, block a flyer. It comes down when we cast it. Kills a flyer. Can block another flyer. Really good. Anything that has Cascade, I tried to put in this deck because you cast it and you get something additional, so you get 2 things sort of off your commander's ability, which is pretty darn good. Like Boarding Party, pretty good. I've put a few cards in here that aren't that amazing, but I just sort of needed to put some more cards in. It is a 6/6, so that's pretty good, and it does something when it enters, so that's fine. Big Demon, Giant Boy, buffs all of our stuff up. We don't care about foretell or anything like that. We want to cast it off our commander's ability or from our hand. Sandstone Oracle draws a whole bunch of cards. Marauders, we can cast it from our graveyard as well, which is pretty darn good. And we also get a whole bunch of other copies of it, so we can bounce back from removal sometimes. The Howling Giant makes some 2/2 wolves. Colossus, big 7/7 for 8 with Cascade, pretty good. Just anything that gives us extra things. Palaka Worm, 7 life. Big Trampling, 7/7. If it dies, we draw a card. Triastodon, we can turn a whole bunch of our opponent's stuff into 3/3s, or we can turn some of our own stuff into 3/3s. Just a big 9/9/2 that's just hard to deal with. This guy, he can return 2 lands to our hand. So if we haven't played a land, we can basically have untapped one of our lands, and we have a land for next turn. This guy, not that good, but still just okay. Destroys an artifact or makes a treasure. Mammoth gives off our stuff trample. Dragon gives us 2 treasures, pretty good. This guy, when he enters, we get some goblins, which is pretty good too. Matic of Amogus, or Fanatic Amogus, pretty good. Deals damage to each of our opponents, equal to Reversion to Red. What else we got? Oh, Tali. We've got a Tali in here. I don't know whether it really fits exactly with this deck, but big 6/6, you know, just comes in there and it might get you some more card advantage and whatnot. Silverback Shaman dies, we draw a card, but it's just a nice big beating body, so that's kind of what we want in Raise Forerunners. This just gives our creatures menace when we attack our opponents. Also gives our opponents menace if they attack some of our opponents. So again, political value can be good. Meteor Golem just destroys any permanent. This gives our team haste, and it does have haste, or it also gives our opponents haste against our opponents, which is weird to say, I guess, but still that is what it does. I had that wall here just a second ago, and I'm trying to find it now. Oh, there it is. Basically, this thing also just in here for the haste, and sometimes it's just a nice little defender. But I was also just like running out of cards to kind of put in here. I just thought the haste is pretty good. Caller Wildwood, you know, if we have some stuff in our hand that we need to dump out and it's big stuff, we draw cards, but it also just gives us mana. Savage Ventmore just gives us a whole bunch of mana, can fuel up our commander's ability. Electromancer, you know, even though we don't have that much party stuff in the deck, just give us some extra mana when we cast it, so that's pretty good. Red Dragon will deal a bunch of 4 damage to our opponents, pretty good. Artisan Kozilek brings something back from our graveyard to the battlefield. It's upside down, I don't know why. You know, this big beating thing, you scry 3 and then you gain life equal to the top card's, you know, cost or whatever. It's pretty decent, but I just like it for the 7/7 body. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, Kamal and Eldrazi Devastator are actually the last two. I almost forgot. I thought we went past them actually, but you know, Kamal buffs up all our stuff, gives them trample, big trampling boy. So yeah, that's what this deck's all about. Gruul beatdown style, you know, deck, you know, revolving around using our commander's ability. We have other things to do in this deck, but you know, we are, you know, mostly doing our commander's ability. And again, I'll show you guys like a full out deck deck list, but you know, not going to go through it again too much. But again, if you want to get that deck list, want to build this deck for yourself, it is a budget deck, as I said. You can, so if you want to find that, links are in the description, as I always sort of say. But if you want to buy this deck, again, I'm only selling this to more new players, or trying to sell this to more new players, because again, I want to get more people into the game. You know, this is a very cheap deck. I have to price it up. That will be in the description or on the price list or whatever, and it will also be in the box when I'm actually selling it and have all the tokens and whatnot and all that stuff. So if you're interested in purchasing it or whatnot, again, just I want to make sure you're a new player, whatnot, or you're buying it for a new player to get somebody in the game, you know, and just like spread the joy of Magic. So that's the that's that first one there. I'll go through the second one very quickly as well. This I don't even think we had the commander for this Golgari deck, but I decided on Dina. Dina's very good. You know, gaining us life, or we'll ping our opponents for life whenever we gain life, rather. Also can sacrifice stuff. There is a sacrifice sub-theme in this deck, but we don't really activate our commander very much for that ability. Again, all tokens like these pests and whatnot will come with the deck when I sell it. Again, same thing. This is a new player deck that I want to specifically get out there for new players. Again, the deck, like, very simple for the most part in terms of some of the cards, like the lands and whatnot. Nothing frilly or fancy really here too much. Sir Conrad, really decent and good card. You know, damage to each of our opponents is sort of the stuff that we want to do. We want to get our stuff in the graveyard. We want to, you know, just kill our opponents very quickly through all these different effects. Tend the pests, you know, we sacrifice a creature, we get a whole bunch of pests, which we can sack. You know, they gain us life, which is pretty good, but we also just want to sack things as well. So, you know, that helps us out. Nadir, we sack a whole bunch of stuff. He gets a whole bunch of counters, and then when he dies, we get a whole bunch of 1/1s equal to the number of counters or whatever on him, or equal to his power. So yeah, we just get a whole bunch of 1/1s that we can keep sacrificing and whatnot, and keep going and doing different things. We got a whole bunch of like cheap sack outlets like Viscera Seer and whatnot. Extra Blood, just another budget like option. You know, whenever we gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. We've got lots of those effects. Bastion of Remembrance, great card. You know, again, the sacrifice sub-theme. You know, draining our opponents, whatnot. Blossoming Blob Beast. We're not really attacking much with this deck, but we can sort of do it as a plan D or whatever. But again, just gaining us some life. It does have to attack, and it is only a 3/3. Well, it actually is a 5/5 when it attacks, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter. We're just looking for the life gain. Poison Tip, Archer, again, just pinging our opponents, very good. Warlock class is actually really good from the new, I'm about to say new Commander decks, but from the new D&D set. So that's really good too. Actually, I do have a Kinzu Altar Necropot there. So maybe some bells and whistles. I just so happen to find this one. You know, whenever we play a land, we gain life. Our deck's all about gaining life. It's all about having things die. So this big spider comes in. If the thing died, we get a treasure, sack a treasure, gain life. Veto, you know. Veto is probably the most expensive card that's in this deck. You know, we just like drain our opponents out very quickly. Lamphead's pretty cool. Sacrificing things, you know, each opponent loses life. Midnight Reaper card draw. This card in here, it's not so much like some of the other decks. It's more to get the food in this deck. You get the food, you sack the food, you gain the life, you do all sorts of things. So that's what it's in here for. Marauding Blight Priest. You know, again, more stuff to drain our opponents. These sorts of things. When we make tokens, we, you know, do the same thing. Sack. Haruchita Hagra makes our opponents lose life. So that's mainly what it's here for. More sack fodder that makes our opponents lose life. This can get back creatures from our graveyard. Well, actually, no, this is the other one. It's the other one that gets us back from the graveyard, but this one gets it from our top of our deck by sacrificing stuff. So then we just have a few things that are in here that make extra bodies when they enter or when they die. This is the one I was saying, get stuff back from the graveyard. We want to loop things from our battlefield to our graveyard and whatnot. Again, Druid class, pretty good. Even if we don't get to any of the other levels, just the first level, gaining life, that's mainly what our deck's about. Necromancer, more recursion to get back stuff from our graveyard. Vampiric Rites, more card draw, but it also sack engine. Gary's amazing because Gary will, you know, gain us a whole bunch of life and make our opponents lose a whole bunch of life. And when our commander's out, it's even more life, so it's like panharmonicing it, I guess. More card draw and more Divine Reclamation. Plumb the Forbidden, such a underrated card, I think. Really good, even though it's not repeatable. I prefer repeatable stuff for the most part, but Plumb the Forbidden's a really good card. Death Priest, you know, whenever stuff dies in our turn, we can get extra stuff to sack, you know, so it's just decent. Yeah, again, some of the stuff's not that amazing, but again, working on a budget, so it is harder. So Janani Offshoot just gains its life when we play lands. There's more of that sort of stuff. Prosperous Innkeeper, whenever a creature ETBs under our control, we gain life. So Cutthroat, when our stuff dies, lose life, gain life, blah blah blah, all the things that gain us life. Tormo is actually really cool in this deck, but I don't know if it's that great, but it's really cool because whenever we get things from our graveyard, which we don't do much, but when we do it, it's really good because we get an extra zombie, so we get extra things to sack. You know, more stuff that pings our opponents, more stuff that gets our stuff back, and more stuff that sort of draws us cards. So that's pretty much that deck. Again, same thing. The deck tech will be, or not deck tech, but the deck list will be down in the description for you guys, along with the price. Again, I'm looking to sell this deck to new players exclusively for the most part, or to people who are very specifically looking to get new players into the format. I really want to get more decks out there that are just like, this is a deck, it's very cheap, pick it up, you know, pull it out of the box, play it, get some games, get into the format, you know, and just start having fun with your friends and whatnot. Like, that's one of the things that I wanted to say in another video, and I'll say it again, even if it, you know, I have to say it 3 or 4, 500 million times or whatever. If you go somewhere, anywhere, wherever, even if you're at home or whatever, you're always sitting there. Like, if I'm going to sit there and my 2 other friends are sitting there, like, bored out of their brains, just sitting there going and watching me and another person play a game, I'm like, why? Why are these, you know, they have their decks and we have our decks. It's like ridiculous to me that those other 2 people were not playing with just because, you know, that's the format of whatever. To me, again, I understand people who want to play competitive or 1v1s, you know, metas or whatever, but I don't really, but, you know, again, to a degree I do, but whatever. I don't get when you're like going somewhere and going to go and play with your friends that you play a 1v1. Like, why? You might as well just play a 4-player game or whatever. I understand that, again, I sort of said this in that other video where it's like, you know, 75 to 80% or even more people, you know, never play in store. They just play on their kitchen table or whatever with their friends or whatever, invite people around once a week or once a fortnight or whatever, or 2 times a week or whatever it is, get pizza, get some drinks, you know, play a few games, have some fun, you know, whatever. You know, they'll buy their cards and then go home and play, you know. So, again, it's one of those things. It's just like, if you're playing with, you know, if you're playing 2 one-on-one games, yeah, sure, because at least everyone gets the games in that they want to play. I don't get it exactly again, but if everyone's getting a game in, it's good. But again, it's so much easier just for everyone to be in the one same game, in my opinion. It's so much easier just for me and 3 other people to be sitting in the one game than me sitting in the game with another couple of, or sitting beside a couple people having their own separate game. Like, I don't know. To me, it's like the person, again, every deck's built different, but if somebody's sitting there with their mono red deck or whatever, and the other person's sitting there with their mono green enchantress deck or whatever, or green white enchantress deck, the person playing mono red has got no chance of beating that deck because they've got no answers to what the other person is doing for the most part. They have nothing really to answer enchantments. So they're just going to lose. So it's just one of those things. It's just like, oh, well, that's not very much fun for that person. It'd be more fun if two other people were in that game, and maybe they can help deal with some of the enchantments. Now, not all of them, but they can at least slow that person down, and that mono red player again might have a bit of a better game. But anyway, again, guys, I won't get into it too much. I want to do more of a video on all of that sort of stuff a little bit more in the future. I want to do more stuff. And again, I've got more of those budget decks to bring you once I've finished with them. I've still got the 2 left. There is this one, which hasn't got a commander or anything for it yet. But what I want to do is I'm going to put this on the Patreon and whatnot for people to vote on. You guys can vote and tell me what you think this deck should be. Whatever it is you vote on, I'll give you, a few different options. The commander has to be under a couple of dollars or whatever. It has to be a budget commander, and all the cards that go into it have to be budget. So we can't just pick something that's going to not be successful in being able to be budget, if you know what I mean. We can't just pick something like an eggs commander, because most of the eggs cards are very expensive and hard to get. So it's just one of those things where I will just limit some cards selections, because again, they're just not practical to build. But again, I'll let you guys vote on what this lovely pink deck will be for some lucky new player, hopefully, to play. And again, as I said, I'll bring you the other deck texts soon once I've done with building them. But anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think of this one. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below.
If you would like to further support the channel, you can go onto our Patreon. You can also get social with us on our Facebook. To follow all the updates, make sure you hit the like button. And on our Discord, to get into it, please leave a comment and I'll send you an invite. All links are in the description. I hope you have enjoyed this video here today, and if you have, please consider liking, sharing and subscribing, and I hope you will come back for another one. See you then.